Welcome to JB Trio Podcast, Season 4, Episode 17, our final episode of Season 4. Lee McDonald Jr.
Chris, the new and improved Woodmancy.
Mark, the ancient warrior merchant.
And this is our final episode of the fall season. We just finished our fall league. It's actually been 2 Tuesdays that we've had since our last recording. We did our end of the half for week 37, and then last night we did our sweeper night. At the time of taping, it's Wednesday, the 31st of May. So we wanted to pile both weeks into this final podcast. So this will be our last episode of season 4. So it was definitely a memorable season. I'll give it that.
Yep.
Our first season where we've had 17 episodes. We've had a lot of favorite phrases that we've come up with, such as the fruit roll-ups episode and the dry oral episode. We've had a ton of stuff going on this season. It was one of our best seasons, probably the best. And Spotify picked us up as a sponsor. So as you hear before the episode, now we got our commercials going.
Yeah, so maybe we'll hear some commercials, huh?
Yeah. I'm going to try to go back to all of our previous episodes and try to re-record them with the ad at the front. But yeah, you'll hear our very own Mark. He's got the commercial voice I found. He's got the perfect commercial he made.
Boston, the water.
Exactly.
Is that Chris barking in the background?
No, that's my dog.
Is it?
Chris? Okay.
Where's Mark's kittens at? I usually hear them in the background.
Yeah, no, I put those things to bed.
All right, so 2 weeks ago was our final half. And so it come down to if it was going to be my team or Ricky's team, and I had to make 7 points. Well, turns out we didn't beat them that night, but we got our 7 points. We ended up splitting. We went 24 out of 24 or 24 out of 48, and I didn't bowl great. Well, actually, I did bowl pretty good. I shot 630, but I bowled bad the last game. Peyton carried us. He shot 700. Ricky bowled good, though. He shot his 600, and he's been bowling pretty good these last few months. He hadn't been bowling that good until he bowled us. So we did everything we could, and we still only split. But the magic number was 7, and we got it.
Yes, sir. And Mark,
so we won the half. We won the half. I couldn't believe it. My team lucked out and happened to bowl them on the good night. Mike and Mike bowled pretty good. Next pair, Brady Bunch. Brady Bunch against Boyer's Boys. Brady Bunch took a beating that night. That was only 14 out of 48. So Brady Bunch, I think a lot of us picked for beat Mark's picks, but they lost. So Neil's team got their butt kicked by Kiefer, who bowled really good, and they ended up winning. So Boyer's Boys, I think, lapped them. They overcame them. So they went from 4th to 3rd, and Brady Bunch went from 3rd to 4th. Let's see. Next pair, Mark's team, Team 8, which is I'd hit that better against I'd hit that harder, Dwayne's team. So
I'll speak for both teams here. I don't know how we ended up on lane 31 and 32. We were scheduled to bowl on 27, 28, and next thing you know, we're on 31 and 32. Now, I thought that's where Chris, the Titanic, was supposed to be bowling.
I did too.
I mean, we got to get better at that because I'm going to tell you, we were all dumbfounded as to why we were on that pair to begin with. Yep. I don't know how that happened. And I know the Brady Bunch was next to us on 29 and 30, and they were scheduled to be on 25 and 26. So, I mean, I'm not going to say that was the turning point, but there were a lot of unhappy people that we were sitting on 31 and 32. I don't think it would have changed the outcome any, but that pair was horrible. And, I mean, one lane was flying out the door. None of us could keep it on the right side of the head pin. And then the other lane was not as tight. And 31 and 32 are not anybody's favorite unless you're Chris. So it was a bummer that we ended up getting on to that pair. So I think, I don't know what happened, but I think we need to get, as a league, we need to be a little bit better somehow in where we're supposed to bowl. And that kind of brings up a point, Lee. I'm almost feeling like how many teams do we know? How many teams in that early league on Tuesday night? Is it going to be another one of those situations where pair might delay us from starting and then we've got to shuffle lanes again?
It's possible, but I'm going to try to talk with the general manager. I hope they listen to this podcast because that's definitely a big criticism that I have, that it's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard any bowling center having to go through, where our league is set up on a certain set of lanes, 10 lanes.
Yes.
What happens is we follow a league that are made up of a lot of bowlers that averages would be, I'd say, mid-range, somewhere in between 150 to 200, sometimes lower. And it's those teams that have the lower averages that don't finish very fast.
Yep.
Our scheduled time is normally 9 o'clock. And whenever we have lanes from the early shift that we have to follow them that happen to be bowling much later after 9 o'clock, sometimes they go as late as 9:30. And half-hour delay is a pretty big delay for any league. I mean, a 5-minute delay is not really a good delay. So there are times that we opt to move a pair that is affected by that. So if we've got 10 lanes and only 2 lanes are affected because of the early shift, we have to move those 2 lanes. Well, the center has some sort of a problem with their system, because when our names get put in the system will read it as those same 10 lanes. But anytime they got to move just 2 lanes and move that pair to a pair that's open so we can all start on time, for some reason it changes the lineup. So when we have a schedule and 2 teams are supposed to bowl on this pair of lanes, they get moved because of the 2 teams that are not able to bowl on their own pair because of the late finish from the early league. And it so happened we had, I think it was 27 and 28.
Yeah.
That's the lanes that were late. So we opted to move them to 21 and 22. And it always happens 5 minutes before we start bowling where there's nothing we can do about it. So we opt to move that pair, and especially if it's like with a pair where our bowlers want to start on time so they don't finish too late because they got to get up early for the next morning. They want to move, but it screws up other pairs because the center doesn't know how to just move the one pair.
Yeah,
Brody was telling me that yesterday.
Yeah, and that's the thing that really stinks about it, because if, like, for instance, we're scheduled to bowl on 27 and 28, they're not done, and we're good moving, but if we were to move to, let's say, 22, 21 and 22, it's like everyone else gets shifted. You know what I mean? It's like you only need to move that one team to another lane. Somehow we were scheduled to bowl in 27, 28. They're late. And then the next thing you know, we're on 31 and 32 when that wasn't a lane that had a problem. And the team that was scheduled to bowl in that could have been bowling on that pair. It's just like, it just kind of shifts everything. And it definitely it can definitely affect you, especially if you're on 30 to 32.
And the fun aspect too, because if people truly don't like 31, 32, I mean, it's a bowl on Super Week when money's on the line.
And look at and beat Mark's picks. Sometimes I factor in the lane assignment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've talked to the guy. I've literally had arguments with a guy that runs. Well, he says he's the manager, but I think he's just like a shift lead or something. But I talked to him, and I've had this. Is it Brody? Do you know him pretty good?
Yeah, I know him pretty good.
What's he like?
He's a kid. He's literally, I think, 21 or 20, and he's a stickler for the rules, but he's also don't know how to do his job. He said he even told me himself he wasn't fully trained. He started as a assistant manager, and no prior experience. And apparently the manager, Rebecca or Aubrey, whatever her name is, the girl,
Amber,
she literally went on vacation without telling him, and just say, "Hey, here you go. You're working every day as manager for me until I get back." He doesn't know how to operate the system for league.
And this is probably one of his first jobs too, because I mean he'll get in arguments with me. I'm not a big confrontation argument type guy, but I'm not going to back down for what I know is right, especially when it affects you guys, when it affects bowlers.
Yeah, and I told him that too. I told him about the customer service aspect, but I told him at the end of the day, you do what feels right to you. I mean, it may not be the right thing to do, but if you makes you sleep at night, then all good.
Yeah, I mean, you think it wouldn't be too hard to just move one team, one pair, like the teams that can't bowl, you just spot them on another pair of lanes instead of moving everyone else. It doesn't seem to be difficult.
I know for a fact there's options. This system was not.
Oh yeah, there is options. You just don't know how to do it.
Because look at in our senior league, it has happened many times that a lane breaks down and they swap them to another pair, 1 and 2, that we leave open. So it can be done. He just probably doesn't know how to do it. Yeah, and it's a good thing he listens to the podcast because you guys are calling.
I hope he does.
Yeah. No, he does.
Because you guys are calling him.
We were talking about this yesterday.
Honestly, we were fortunate we took what we took. Dwayne missed a very easy, I believe, 8-pin in the 10th frame of the first game that if he had made it, they would have won the game because we had only won by maybe 4 pins. And that would have dropped us another position in the overall standings. So,
oh my God, another?
Yeah. So,
you guys dropped enough as it is.
Yeah, we did drop enough, but we managed to get 6th. We would have been in 7th if we made it. And I knew, like I said, before we even started, Dwayne was we were all looking at each other like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I know. I had to make a decision on whether or not to let that other pair bowl. And when we did, and then I saw what happened, how it shifted 31-32. And everybody had already started laying out their stuff. And I told him, I said, can't we just move these 2 pairs?
Yeah, exactly.
Because your pair, Chris's pair, flip-flopped. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I said, can't you just move those 2? No, I got to turn the whole thing off. It's going to rearrange everybody again.
Which I don't think that's right. I don't think that's true.
I don't either. And I know it couldn't be because the system has been there for 2 to 3 years. I remember when they brought the guy in from St. Louis.
Yeah,
who's like the expert on this. He ran the whole thing.
He was only there for like 2 weeks. Yeah,
yeah.
I was there for was it?
It may have been a couple weeks, but still.
Yeah.
And then Andrew took it over. Andrew, who's been great, and unfortunately he moved away. But throughout that whole time, there was never a problem. And even if there's maybe an extra step, or you have to do more work than just moving the system around, Andrew did that extra work, and I guess Brody's just not willing to do it.
Yeah, I mean, we got to think of both sides. Is he not willing to do it, or he doesn't know how to?
A lot of the bowlers are not happy with it, and so they come to me because there's nothing I can do about it. I can't twist Brody's arm enough to do it. So I'm going to have a really good sit down whenever what's her name gets back in town. Of all the times to go on vacation, the transition week from fall to summer. But you know what? I don't really want to turn this into a complaint podcast, but it's just that they don't have an ear out for us, and it's frustrating.
It is frustrating.
But in any case, it did affect Mark, and they only ended up winning 15 out of 48. But like he said, they were lucky to get their 15.
Yeah, and you know what? I think it also affected the other team because these guys are in brackets too.
Yeah.
I know Twain was, they weren't happy with the way the condition was, and it certainly could have definitely affected their scores within the brackets. And nobody's fond of 31 and 32 unless you're Chris.
Yeah. And Chris, it affected you too because you ended up bowling on, 25 and 26, and you were supposed to be on 31, 32. And your team only won 10 out of 48 because Rick Connor shot his second 700 series ever that he's bowled on legs. Yeah, so it affected you too. He may not have bowled that on 31-32. I'm happy for the guy.
Yeah, it creates a dynamic effect for everybody, really.
Yeah, it does. So we'll have to have, we're the 3 board members of the league along with Kyle. We'll have to have like a grievance meeting with the general manager because, I've had guys and girls that bowl the league come up to me just as late as last night, the last night that we bowled, saying, is there any chance we could take all our bowlers to another house? Because everybody loves everybody. We've been a tight-knit group for the last few years, so we all love bowling together. but we all hate the center. And I don't really hate it, but I just wish that the staff was a little bit better.
But I mean, like, that being said, how many managers did this place have?
Well, technically, it's only got one general manager, Amber, and she come from another bowling center, so she's got experience, and she's nice, and she's got customer service skills.
Yeah, definitely.
But
yeah.
I don't know if it's trickling down like she's hoping. She might be, I don't want to say too nice, because I don't really know how she manages her employees. But, I mean, as far as how she approaches bowlers, nothing but kindness and thoughtfulness. And she has accommodated us before Brody came on.
She'll listen to us.
Yeah.
She'll listen to us. Yeah, she will. I mean, we just got to tell her, look, at whether they know what they're doing or not. Somebody has to let them know. There's no reason that everything has to shift around, because quite simply, there shouldn't be any problem moving two teams onto another pair.
No,
not without affecting anybody else. Yeah, so I'll definitely say something to her. I see it quite a bit.
I mean, if they didn't change the old system, when I used to work there, I could have done it easily.
Oh, I forgot you used to work there.
Yeah, I worked there for 3 years.
Yeah, that's right.
If they didn't change the system, I could have done it, but it would look confusing.
Yeah, it is. I'll give it that. It's not the easiest to work with, but anyway. So last pair was Team 2, Good Frame Gentlemen against Team 10. And Good Frame Gentlemen edged it out 28 out of 48. Another good night from Greg. He's been on a tear lately. So they went and they beat up on Jerry Boudreau's team. Jerry didn't bowl so hot. She had a bad first game. But Millar bowled pretty good. And I think they had Crenshaw sub for him. But the final results of the half, Joey Robbed wins the half. So they got 543. So congrats to us. That's my team. Then Ricky was second. Ricky in the 2 mix, 508. Third place, Boyers Boys, 485. Brady Bunch, 466. I'd hit that harder, 441. Sixth place, I'd hit that better. Mark's team, 436. Good Frame Gentlemen, 429. Pocket Pounders, 8, 361. 2 marks in the spare, 347. And the Titanic, 304.
Oh, broken 300. Oh,
yeah. Barely broke.
There we go.
Broke 300. Hey, I'm proud.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Ricky and the 2 mix, they outbeat us by 2.5 times what we got in prize fund.
Yeah,
you know, they got 2.5 times what we got.
455 each.
Yeah, we ended up getting patches, and they got like flashlights and everything else.
Yeah, they did good. I was proud of those guys, especially Mike Henderson. My God, that guy. If we had like a 3-month highest over average, or how big of an increase an average would go up, he would definitely be number one, because he had to jump from like 140 to 155, something crazy, which never happens when your league is almost done late in the league. I mean, that's stuff you do early in the league. You never go 15 pins late in the league like he did.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you know, for the season, the guys that really need to be congratulated are Charlton having most individual is certain accomplishment, and like you said, Henderson and Flores being like the most improved is a really good accomplishment. And
it really is.
Ron and Jared both shooting 300s.
2 300s this year. That's right.
Yeah, that's great. And a slew of 279s.
And not many 700s though. I was hoping for more 700 individual games.
Yeah, it's probably only been 4. I think maybe just 4.
This whole season? No.
I think he's right. I think
700?
Maybe 5. I know I had one.
I had one. I had one.
Oh,
yeah, there might have only been Rick Connor might have been the 5th.
Oh, I had one in the beginning of the season. In the beginning.
Yeah, that was a fluke.
Oh,
yeah, but there was.
I'm pulling up my final results now.
Yeah, it was probably like 5. I believe there was probably only 5.
But yeah, like you said, Greg, his final accomplishment, 167 points for an individual. You only get 2 points per game, or you get basically 8 points a night. So for him to finish off with 167, that's great. And he ended up taking most points out of the league. So congrats goes to Greg. Richard Flores, most improved bowler, almost 30 pins from when he first started.
Sandbagger.
He starts off a little low, and then he hits his arm assist.
That's how you do it. That's how you finish.
Yeah. Yeah, he comes in limping, and then during the season he hits his pharmacist, and then the next thing you know, he's 30 above.
Yep.
That's what happened. And last year he was bowler of the year. So basically what we do is we take bowler of the week and we just take bowler of the year, whoever had the absolute most pins over your series for one night. Last year, the memorable night that he had on 31-32 against Mark himself, he had 205 pins over.
Highest game ever.
Well, he did it again this year.
Sucked it up.
Yeah, that chokes me up too.
Yeah, he choked it up.
And he had 188 over. So he 2 years in a row back to back. So congrats to Richard.
Yeah, so that steroid shot he gets still works.
He upgraded from pills to the shot.
Yeah, still works.
And then Ron Reynolds, 211. He finished strong, highest average in the league. He's lucky, though. Peyton was on his butt because Peyton got up after, if we count what he did last night, Peyton got up to 210.
Yeah, I don't even want to get into last night. I heard that he could have won the whole. He could have won the whole thing by himself.
You and me both. You and me both.
He could have won the whole thing by himself.
Unfortunately, the top three averages do not consist of Mr. Woodmansey.
I mean,
it's a major fade.
It was just a confident morale. Like, I think coming to see my team, knowing that our history of this team, it didn't bring me to wanting to bowl ever hard again with that team.
What?
To be honest, it didn't. It's just like, because like what happened was so drastic and so devastating that I have to get away. I have to start new.
That's so.
Yeah, I kind of think over the first half.
Yeah,
first half just
killed us. Killed all of us.
Yeah, it sucked the wind right out of
one frame.
Yep.
Yes, sucked the wind right out of you guys.
It really did. It really did.
Yeah, it come down to one frame. Is like that one frame was just. It's like the curse that won't go away.
Oh yeah.
The podcast curse lives.
But I would say I never got the Woodman.
It's like a baby crying.
I mean, ever since we come out, we're going to reminisce about what we come up with on this season 4 of the podcast. But one thing that we discovered is this podcast curse. It's alive and well. I mean, we talked about the Stars on the previous episode, and they were going to go into Game 6, and they were riding high. They were coming home. Mark even texts me. He says, "Hey, I'm going to the game," and it happens to be on the night that we do the podcast. And so they start the game, and right out the gate, the other team gets a goal like within the first 2 minutes.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh great. And so I'm watching the game, and then all of a sudden, Stars lose 6-0, and I'm texting Mark. I said, "Mark, you're never invited back."
Yeah, it was over before it started. I mean,
that was the worst game, and all I could think about was podcast curse.
Yeah.
Wait, did the Dallas Stars win? I didn't see it.
No, they got their ass kicked.
I don't watch hockey.
It was before it started.
Yeah, it was.
And Kyle's a huge fan, and I know he was sad.
They done playing? Was that
it? That was their elimination game.
Yep.
They couldn't afford to lose another one.
Oh,
so Kyle, our bowler, is a huge fan. Does he go to the game with you, Mark?
When this particular game, guy called me up the last minute. His wife didn't feel well, and he's a season ticket holder. But I've taken Kyle on his tickets a couple of times. Yeah. So anytime I ever get 2 tickets, Kyle's the first person I ask because I know he's a huge fan. Yeah. So this one though only had the one. So.
Yeah, I never invited back.
Yeah, I had a feeling they weren't ready to win. They just didn't play like they wanted it.
Yeah, and so the podcast curse. I think it even goes back to when Chris all he had to do was get that magic number 14 for points, and he only got 12, and it come down to one frame. And I think it had to do with the podcast curse. We just didn't know it. And there's a bunch of other curses. I mean, every time we have a guest, they come on, and the next night they bowl like crap.
Yep.
Yeah, just to touch base on, gave all the results of that last week. And so there was a real challenge between you and Chris for second place and beat Mark's picks. So ultimately, Lee, you went 4-1 for the week.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah, so you ended up with a 44-38 record. Chris, myself, and Greg all went 2 wins, 3 losses.
Oh, that
Yeah.
means I win. Hey.
Yeah. So
the curse affects Chris.
Yeah, the end result is I only was ahead of you by 4 wins, 48 and 34 I was, and you were 44 and 38.
You're
I was
lucky
44 and 34. Yeah. And Chris was 42 and 40. We're all above 500.
See, I'm getting
Beat
better.
Mark's picks. How about
last
that?
season
I
we did
close.
this, I sucked.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
there's
we're all
another
above
thing.
500.
And speaking of the curse, the worst thing that could have happened ended up happening last night. What we discussed earlier was 2 weeks ago. So we had our last night of the league, which is sweeper night, and it happens to be our championship night. The winner of the first half, Good Frame Gentlemen, goes against the winner of the second half, which, as I mentioned earlier, is my team. My son Peyton bowled a 700. We're looking good, and then I choke. The podcast curse got to me. I only shoot 490 friggin' 7.
Wow.
Ended up losing the whole friggin' league. So Good Frame. What are you doing, Chris?
What
are you getting off on this?
No.
So I ended up losing we had all the momentum, and Peyton shoots another 700, so he's doing his job.
Yeah, wow.
And I felt like I was on, like Mark said earlier, on his pair 31-32 2 weeks ago. I couldn't do anything. The lanes are so damn dry, and I don't blame the lanes. I need to figure out how to adjust on them, but it didn't matter. I couldn't throw for shit. And yeah, I was a little bit under the weather. I'm still, as you can hear, I'm coughing and hacking away. I'm just so disappointed, but the podcast curse got to me. Basically affected all three of us, Chris, myself. I think it's even affected Mark a few times. He's probably bowled up against all the big top scores of the league this past season and ended up scoring the lowest in the money count. Besides, there's one other team I'm trying to think of. It was Logan's team was the only team that was lower. They had 220 a man.
In money, really? So we were the second lowest?
You were the second lowest. Now that's for teams that bowled the full season. Jerry's team only bowled the half a season, so they only got half a purse. Yeah. But out of the teams that bowled for the full season, it was kind of weird. There was like 6 teams that all had 400 or higher. And then there were 2 teams that had mid 300s, and Chris was one of those teams because they took second place in the first half. And then there were 2 teams that only took mid 200s. So it was kind of a weird thing. Wow. But I think they all enjoyed the payout option of option C1, and it was kind of an even. So everybody got even money at the end. And then Peyton bowled his 700 last night, and he cashed out a lot in the brackets. We had like 15 brackets, and he must have won a ton of them because, I didn't stick around. I had to get up early, and especially bowling like shit. I wanted to get out of there. But so yeah, he ended up winning a lot. It was a good night. It was fun, but that's it. That's the league. League's over.
Let's hand it to
God. Thank God.
Good Frame Gentlemen. Good Frame Gentlemen. We are the champions.
Elena Charlton and Gary Vickner, all are champions of JB Trios for 2022-2023. So hats off to them. They earned it, though. I mean, it could have come down to me against Chris's team. They might not even been in it. And that'd have been pretty fun to see me against Chris. I probably would have got up to bowl for that.
Yeah. And I mean, think if you and Leland stayed home, Team Peyton would have won it.
That's what I told him. I said, man, if I just stayed home, I'd have said, I'm going to do a Chris. I'm going to say I'm sick and stay home.
Okay.
That's what I should have done. But anyway, hats off to the Good Frame Gentlemen. I'm proud of those guys.
It was good.
They earned it. I know Chris is going to say otherwise.
I won't say.
Well, the good thing is, Lee, you did go from last to first.
True.
Which is an accomplishment for half. Yeah. Titanic went second to last.
We didn't do our trophy ceremony. My butthead stupid ass forgot to bring the trophies. I got the trophies still here in my house. I feel like destroying them and throwing them away, though, now because I didn't win them. I'm just kidding. I'm going to bring them up to the bowling alley next week. Greg's still on in the league, and Gary. Maybe Elena will show up. I'll see if she'll just come up for the ceremony, and so we'll make the announcement next week, and we'll present them the official trophy. They beat us. I think it wasn't even extremely close either. It was like 36 out of 48. They killed us by the first 2 games, and we ended up winning the 3rd game, but we still got killed.
Yeah, I mean, shooting a 4 something That doesn't help. Yeah.
No, that was my lowest series of the whole stinking league for the whole year, 497.
And I got to say, I'm kind of rather excited for the summer. I think that we're going to have a good number of teams, it sounds.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can name 5 off just the regulars.
And that's the final segment of the season. We are going to go over the teams that we got coming for the summer. Anybody within listening distance is free to join. We really want you to join. I know a lot of the fall bowlers that listen to this podcast are going to come back. There's some that aren't. That's all right. Hope to see them next fall. But definitely start recruiting because this is recruit week. So just like in college when they got the what is that called? Is it recruit week? What do they call that?
Yeah.
College football. Recruiting day, yeah. So this is recruiting week. We're going to start recruiting teams for the league. If one of you guys could come up with a list, maybe Mark, since you do so good on Beat Mark's picks, if you want to come out with a list, and then you can give me the list, and then I can send out text messages because I've got all the guys' phone numbers, and we'll get confirmations and stuff like that. So us 3 have a team. My team, I actually recruited Greg Charlton, so I figured if he's going to kick my ass last night, well, might as well recruit him. So me and Greg are officially on a team.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it just seems like it's going to be Gary and George and
Peyton and Camilla.
Me, and then Mark, you and Ron are bowling together. That's 2.
Yeah.
And then Chris is all excited because he's got his new guy.
Speaking of my new guy, he asked me to tell y'all. I have him listen to our episode 15 podcast when I mentioned him towards y'all. And he is ready to bring his skills to y'all.
You tell him this, Chris. If he bowls anywhere as good as you say he does, he'll be our first guest next week.
Well, he said he wanted to guest today, but then he changed his mind because he wanted y'all to be surprised to meet him and to see his attributes. But he also wants me to tell y'all his words. So I gave him the podcast. He's our new listener. He's going to be a fan now. He wanted me to tell you he bowled basically a Memorial Day tournament in Forum with all the pro bowlers that was there. He took 14th place out of 50-plus bowlers and beat AJ Chapman.
Damn. AJ Chapman's really good. Well, how about that? And you said he's not a two-handed bowler, but he's got a lot of revs.
Yes, he does. He has a lot of revs.
All right, awesome. Well, look forward to having him on.
Ricky's bowling with his mom.
Yeah, that's
Ricky?
another. So our 3 teams. So Ricky and his mom is 4, and
you got Jared Gill, Kyle Neal,
George and Gary's 5. Who did you say?
Kyle Neal, Gill and Jared.
Neal 6, and then Jared and Gill 7.
Peyton and Camilla.
Peyton and Camilla. So they broke up because
Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
My youngest son, who was going to bowl with my oldest son, ended up breaking apart to form more teams. My youngest son is inviting one of his school buddies, actually school girlfriend, to bowl with him. So Brianna is her name. She's going to be bowling with Leland. He's going to bring on another gutter fluffer, and gutter fluffer in training.
Oh my gosh!
And
you gonna wear a face mask and a hoodie too?
He probably will bring it back. He'll have to. And then Peyton's bowling with Camilla. So that's 9. Is that 8 and 9?
9 teams.
Did you count Brian's team?
Yeah, Brian and
Christian. So
no, not Brian. No, it's not Brian Christian. It's going to be Brian and Matthew.
Brian and who?
Matthew Macy, the guy who was sitting on the table.
Oh, okay, yeah. He's pretty good. I couldn't find him in the book, but
he bowls on Tuesdays. He bowls on Tuesdays.
He's got a lot of revs.
Yeah.
So Matthew Macy, so that's 10.
I've seen him on Thursday. He bowls on Thursday.
Yeah, he's a good bowler. Jake and Phil will be back. Thank goodness. Missed those guys. They're really good. So that's 11.
Yeah.
Who are we missing? I know we're missing somebody.
Did you get Elena? Greg and Elena?
Greg's on my team. So me and Greg are joining.
Elena
is dropping out. She's got too frustrated.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I don't think Dwayne and Richard will be back, but they did say they'll be back for the fall.
No, they're not. Yeah. They're not.
And I think Rick Kahn is taking this summer off.
Yeah,
he offered to sub, so we have a contact for a sub if anybody.
Same with Henderson.
Henderson does the same thing too.
Yeah, he'd sub.
So we got subs on hand, which is good because we don't want to have any blind or post bowling as much as we want to encourage subs.
Yeah, is George Martinez still bowling?
Yeah,
that's who's bowling with Gary. Did we already say Jerry and Ricky?
Yeah. So we're looking at 11 that I got written down right now.
got 11. And I don't think David Pride's coming back for the summer. He said he hurt his hip, so he's going to take the summer off. And I'm hoping him and his two boys come back for next fall. I'm going to try to recruit them back. But we got no Joey or his wife, which stinks because they usually are summer bowlers.
Yeah.
Be nice to squeeze out another team and even it out.
Yes, I agree.
I don't know if H. Miller can be bowling any of those two or with Jerry. What about Mike Gensline? No,
he never bowls summers.
Okay, Caden or Logan?
No, they're not coming.
I'm going to try to get on Logan, see if he can find somebody, because he has bowled summers with us. I know he usually bowls with Kiefer, but Kiefer is always taking summers off.
Is Patrick
No, Patrick's taking the summer off too, but he gave me a yes that he is going to be back for the fall. I'll text Patrick. So I got his number.
I'll tell you, him and Henderson would be a good team.
I think so.
Yeah.
Gosh, who are we missing? I keep thinking we're missing somebody.
I think we got pretty much everybody there that I'm thinking about.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about too.
Okay.
Hopefully
Christian to come back. He said if God wants him to be here next week, he'll be here. Just make sure he has a team.
Who's that?
Christian.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he said he'll be, but he needs a partner. He don't have a partner.
Oh, well, hell, we can find him a partner.
I know. He said if God wants him to be there.
Well, hell, even if he wants to bowl, tell him to come up, and then worst case scenario, I'll just sit by and he can bowl with Greg, and then I'll just sit out, because I'd rather have a bowler that wants to bowl with the league, and then I'll just maybe sub on occasion. But yeah, have him come up, and we'll find somebody for him. We got to get that 12 team fixed. So I think what we can do is, and if you have time, Mark, I know if you happen to have time, not a big deal. Chris, if you're working at home, something else that might come to mind is looking over our old standing sheets from years ago, from last summer to 2 summers ago, last fall. See if you can find any names that may be of interest, like salespeople that find leads and take them to the sales department. Try to give me a list of names, and I'll see if I can go back and find their phone numbers and maybe send text messages. And we'll definitely try to get some old bowlers back on and win them back.
As you know, I've already kind of talked to Kevin Cobb, trying to get his interest and telling him, hey, look, when you're bowling doubles, you're never sitting down. You're going to be out of there in an hour and a half tops. What I mean?
Yeah.
Easy.
And so he said he was thinking about it. I'll probably see him again tomorrow night. If he's bowling that summer league, I will ask him.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the leagues have already started their first week, but we had that winter week, which is why our league ended 1 week later than everybody else. Our first night is not till next week on June 6th. So
we should talk about, for all our viewers who actually do listen to the podcast before league starts on Tuesday every single time. I know there's a lot of viewers out there who actually takes the time to listen to the podcast before coming to Tuesday bowling. So we should talk about vote on or bring to the new summer league this season.
Yeah, you and Jared had a good conversation about that last week.
Yeah, they must be referring to 100% handicap.
Yeah, 100% of 200. 100% of 200.
Which kind of makes sense. I mean, we've got plenty of 200 averages that really shouldn't get any handicap. And the only way to really even it out is if we lower the cap, but if it's 100% of the cap, then say, for instance, like a bowler that only averages 100, like we might have 1 or 2 bowlers that just average 100. Difference being if the cap is 200, then they'll get 100 pins because it's 100% of 100. Whereas if we had 120 cap, like right now we have 90% of 120. Difference of that would be 120. 90% would probably be like maybe 107, 108. So it's not a big difference, but it just lowers the cap for handicap. Makes it more kind of a scratch environment for some of the higher averages.
It would be a scratch environment without being a scratch. You'll still get that handicap.
Exactly.
If you earn it.
Another thing we could consider is instead of doing a individual handicap, we could convert it to a team difference, just like how we do the spread with Beat Mark's Picks. If we just did a team difference and just have a spread, we could do that too. That's kind of that's almost the general, or what used to be like at least 20 years ago, the typical rule for the averages and handicaps for any league that I bowled in until they all decided to go to individual handicap. So, I mean, there's definitely some options we could play with there before the league starts.
I'm not fond of there've been many years that our handicap wasn't the greatest and we lost a lot of bowlers because the cream rises to the top, so to speak. It's nice to see a team like Ricky and the Two Mix being up there.
Exactly.
Other years, you don't, when we've had it 80% of 220, we didn't see that. It was like by the end of the season, all the top average teams were on the top, and we've lost teams.
Yeah, very true to both sides. I mean, I've
true.
seen bowlers that come up and they show up to the meeting, and then the moment we start talking about average, and they say, well, if you're going to be a low handicap league, then we're just going to walk. And we've had teams walk before.
Yeah.
I told Chris and Jared when they had this conversation 3 weeks ago that if it comes down to losing bowlers, that's my one key is I don't want to lose a single bowler because of the handicap.
And then I said, instead of being like the normal jerky we see on men, we could be a premium jerk where we only accept premium bowlers.
A premium jerk?
I mean, Jared's big into wanting to make everything scratch.
And he's a USBC representative now, and he goes to a lot of these tournaments, and there's still a lot of scratch tournaments that are broken up into divisions and things rather than handicap.
Yeah.
So he sees a lot of scratch going on. That's probably what he's just gotten used to now. But we'll see. We got a league meeting coming up, and it's mostly
it's only a vote. It's only a vote, and
exactly.
I mean, it might be not. It might stay 90% of 200.
I think 100% of 220 sounds good to me.
100% of 220. My God.
220. Yeah. God, no.
100% of 220 sounds good to me.
No, I mean, if you get 185 average, you get like 25 pins or 35 pins. I know.
Yeah, that's one rule on the agenda. One other rule that we've come up with that we've had debates over is our playoff. So every summer, to make it a little bit more interesting, the fall season we do a split season, which makes it fun, but we can't do that in the summer because there's only 12 weeks. And this year, 4th of July is on a Tuesday, so we have a break in the middle. To make it interesting and a little bit extra fun, we come up with a playoff. We bowl the season, and then by the second to the last week, we have a playoff where the top 4 teams will bowl each other. Fourth bowls first, and the second bowls third. And whoever wins those 2 will bowl in the position round for first place at the end of the summer.
Okay, and let me ask you on that note, are the top 4 teams, when it comes down to it, are they locked into the top 4 positions for pay?
Not necessarily.
And see, I think
only the top 2 are the winners.
And that's where a little bit leery of, like, we've done that in the past. And a team, when you think about it, and this has happened where those top 4 teams are bowling each other almost like it was a position night, let's say, and those other teams are on a whatever the schedule shows. And what can happen is that 5th place team could be bowling the last place team or even a vacancy, kill it in points, and then they end up over the other 2 that were basically forced to be bowling in a playoff. You know what I'm saying?
Very true. Oh yeah.
And I've seen, and that has happened.
It has. I mean, it does feel like teams do tend to get ripped off, but the couple of reasons I would say behind that would be I don't want to lock in the winners of the top 4 of the playoff, only because then the losers, the 3rd and 4th place, would basically have nothing to bowl for in that position round because they're already locked in. So all they'd be bowling would be 3rd and 4th. So I wanted to make it to where at least in position round. Exactly. So like if in position round, if they happen to get knocked down to 5th or 6th, we want to give those teams that are in 5th and 6th a shot to lap them, because I would hate to have them get screwed by, say, if the team in 5th gets 40, but the 3rd and 4th place teams only split and get 20, then they can lap them both and take 3rd. So I would hate to have it where 3rd and 4th, they lose the playoff, and then in the position round, they got nothing to bowl for. So it's like a bye week, and then they got sweeper, and then they got nothing to bowl for there either. So
but you could almost make that week where for one's bowling 4 and two's bowling 3. You could almost make it be that the other group that isn't in the playoffs, like fives bowling six.
Like a back-to-back position round type?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I was thinking of that. Or another idea could be, and this might be a little bit tougher to do, is if we expand the playoff, instead of 4 teams, we do 8 teams. Or like in this case, if we do 12 teams, we're going to have 12 teams in the whole summer. So say if we did like a playoff similar to how we do the Woodmansey Award that we did, in not the award, the Woodmansey bracket.
Madness.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Right. So if we did a playoff starting on let's say week 9, then what we would do is have all 12 teams in a playoff. Then whoever wins there gets, kind of like the Woodmansey, we would have the first top 2 teams have a bye week. And then we would have
separated by handicap.
The other 10 teams bowl each other. And then the winner of those 5 will bowl. And this is where it would probably get way too complicated. But the winner of those 5 would bowl. And then the other 2 teams would be thrown in the mix. Maybe the first place team would have another bye. It just gets
it can get really complicated.
It sounds fun. It sounds like it would be a hell of a way to finish.
I think your playoff scenario is good. As long as if there was a vacancy for some reason in our league, you would have to do back-to-back position rounds, I think, only to make it fair if you had a vacancy in there. Because I've seen it where the team in 5th place that didn't make the playoff bowled the vacancy in that first week of the playoffs, and then they killed it.
Week. Yeah.
Right. It was their normal week. They end up winning all their points. They're basically ahead of both the 3rd and 4th place teams. And
that makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So if we don't include them in the prize part of it, we still keep it just the winners of the playoff. But as far as the schedule, we would do back-to-back position rounds.
Yeah. And I think the way you laid out, hey, look, you don't want to lock all 4 teams into the top 4 positions, just the first 2 at the end of the day. That scenario works for me. I think you got to be a little bit careful on those top 4 teams are going to be battling amongst each other. You don't want somebody to be handed, whatever the point system is, because, yeah.
And that makes sense. I think that's a good idea. So we can expand. It'll be playoff week will be basically the same. We'll call it playoff week, but the other 8 teams will still be in a position round format rather than just the regular week.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. And hey, we got a whole week to play with it. So any kinks we got to work out in the rules and stuff. So those are our 2 major rules that we'll have a big discussion over in the meeting, the averages and the playoff. Everything else will be pretty standard. Money wise, I think we'll still be at $25 unless somebody else comes up with something different. I think we'll still be bowling at 9:00 and Tuesdays, and all the regular rules will still apply.
They did raise lineage, huh?
Not by much. She said that it's going to be raised to $13.75, so it'll go from $13.25 to $13.75. So I think in the past it's gone up 50 cents.
Okay.
This last year it went up. I want to say it was $12.75, and it went to $13.25. So yeah, it went up 50 cents last year and 50 cents this year. So not too bad. So we'll still get a pretty penny. And it's still one of the higher paid leagues in the center and in Dallas. Oh, that's another thing I was thinking of is in Dallas, one of the more popular bowling centers that has been open for decades has closed its doors. Actually, today's its last day, May 31st. USA Bowling has closed its doors. If y'all weren't there, it's closed tomorrow.
With the one in Walnut Hills?
Yeah.
So what happens to that pro shop there?
That I don't know.
Wicks. I wonder. I mean, I used to go to Wicks.
Yeah, they're going to be closed, unfortunately. So
really,
it was kind of sad. George Martinez told me about it a couple weeks ago, and they're closing their doors after they revamped the place. So USA Bowl's done, and I'm going to try to find their website or wherever they are and see if we can maybe recruit some of their bowlers.
So what are they going to do? Make it a strip joint?
Oh my god!
They certainly got
Everybody
enough
won.
of them around there.
Yeah, there's like
I
one
know that's right
there.
across the street.
Yeah,
What was it,
rhino.
Carrabba's or whatever it's
No,
called?
those rhino.
Rhinos?
Yeah, spirit.
Really?
Spirit
So they
rhino.
just shut down the bowling alley there, huh?
Yeah, they're probably going to tear it down. I think they're probably going to expand the highway or something. But yeah,
Wow.
it's crazy.
Well,
I can't believe it. That's my first bowling center I bowled there when I came to Texas.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a phone call tomorrow though, because I was thinking of getting a new ball.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't know what he's going to do. He might have to just run it individually or maybe move it to a center. Like I know there's plenty around like AMF Garland or AMF Richardson or some other place that'll be in need. And I know it's our last episode of the season, and I know we tried to reminisce and talk about like the fruit roll up and
Recommend
dry
it.
oral.
Try it.
The most memorable.
Don't knock it until you try it.
All the podcast curse is a real thing. It not only affects us three and our guest bowlers, but professional hockey teams and everything else. I'm trying to think of anything else we forgot about this. I know we've had a lot of memorable lost nights. I'd lost last night, and Chris lost the first half, and it's definitely been a memorable season.
We'll try and forget it.
Yeah. I remember when Chris bowled Dwayne's team, and Dwayne had a big argument with Chris about how many Brooklyns that Christian had, like maybe 20 or so. And I remember Lena getting mad a few weeks ago. And
walking out. Remember she walked out in the second game?
Yep. I remember that. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian kept his temper in check all season.
Gary throwing chairs.
Yeah. Brian didn't have a lot of F-bombs except for that one night that y'all lost.
Oh, yeah.
But he's been bowling pretty good here last couple months. I remember the debacle we had when the league voted on bowling on the low end again. And so we started on 1 through 10, and we had some of the lowest scores we've ever had.
God, I wish we were bowling on the low end again.
Oh, God.
We
did that the last 2 seasons in a row. We moved like within just a few weeks after that.
Yeah, it makes it a challenge.
It does, but there weren't a lot of happy bowlers.
No, they weren't.
I remember Clint come back to bowl with us. Clint Kent, he's our resident nurse. Him and Rick Connor, both male nurses, and I guess Clint hurt his back, so he dropped out. That also happened this year. He was on Good Frame Gentlemen too. It's too bad he didn't stick it out because he'd have won.
Right.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't be our team. No, they wouldn't be our team because Lena freaking won the game for them.
I don't know. Clint was a 190 bowler too. They made it
just but
good, if not
every
better.
time Clint goes against me, I think he chokes a lot.
Could be. He was the one that brought Good Frame Gentleman's name. He's the originator.
Yep. So Greg should give him half the winnings.
There you go. Yep. We had a lot of memorable things. I remember Jared, who had the first 300. Ron shot the second.
I got my 300.
Rick Connor shot. Oh yeah, your 300. That didn't count in our league.
Yeah, still got one.
But that did happen. That was your first.
Yeah.
In practice.
In practice.
No, still counts. Still counts.
There was a lot of green stripes on that telescore.
It wasn't. It was all white.
Green scores is in when you fill in the score because it's a score correction.
Exactly. Yeah. Still counts.
And then one thing that Chris, this will be, you can savor and take this in. One thing that Chris has over Mark, the Woodman Z. So we've named the Woodman Z Award after Chris for if you have a high game, low game of a huge difference. There's one person that made the list and one person that didn't.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, almost half, everyone in it, basically the high percentage of the league got the Woodman Z Award multiple times, too. But the person it's named after never got it once in the
Not
38
once.
So
but what's the person that did? Who's the out of the other three?
Mark did. Mark got it. Mark got it. I think he got it twice, right?
You know what, though? It's a very prestigious list. Look at
it. Ron got it once.
It's all the best bowlers in the league.
Jared got it. Jared got it. Gilbert got it.
Yeah, the best bowlers in the league.
I mean, all our best bowlers are on the list.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Me and you aren't on the list.
Yeah, I'm actually not on the list. Well, I always say I can't get on the list because you have to have a good game. I can't even get a good game in.
That's right.
But Chris, you have not made the list.
Yeah.
I think is that 2 seasons now? I don't think you made it last season either.
No, I did make it last season.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for admitting.
Yeah.
No, this is one full season. I have never gotten.
Small goal.
We should name it the Marky Mark.
The Marky Mark. Well,
no, your whole family has won it.
Oh yeah, they have. I forget. Yeah,
Oh,
and now Camilla's making a comeback this summer, so there'll be more Woodmansies to win it this summer.
Yeah,
she said
Chris,
she
you ought to
might
get your
be
dad
sometime.
to bowl this summer.
Oh yeah, tell
Oh, my
Dad to come
dad.
back.
Oh,
Yeah,
He
get
did
your
bowl
dad
with
out
us
there.
last summer. There you go. He can bowl with Christian. I know he knows Christian.
Yeah, get your dad out there.
Yeah, tell Dad to get off his butt.
I'll
Stop playing cards.
I'll
Tell him
ask
stop playing
him.
poker and
I'll
get back
ask
to
him.
bowling.
I'll ask him. The only thing he works at 5 the next day. So
Oh hell, I work at 5.
yeah, I know.
Yeah,
So,
So no
he'll be out of
excuse.
he'll be out of there by 11. No, wait,
Yeah,
well,
see,
yeah, he'll be out of there by
get his
11.
butt back out there.
yeah, I'll definitely ask him. No, that's a good idea. That's a good.
And let's get those names together. I want to start recruiting. So if you guys give me some names tomorrow, the next day, I'll start sending out text messages.
All right. Y'all remember Charlie and his girl?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh my God. There's a name from the past. I think that was even pre-COVID.
Yeah, it was pretty
Oh, there
cool.
you go. Put that name on the list, and I'll
Yeah, it
see
was
if I can dig out a phone number.
Charles in Carolina.
I think
That's
they
it.
were the Chicago Bears or the Bears.
Yep.
Yeah, it was Carolina.
Yeah.
That's it.
And then the deaf
you know,
girl. She was deaf. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that was,
yeah.
that was their other.
Tanya.
That was their
Tanya.
Tanya. Yeah, that was Tanya.
Yep. We'll have to get their phone numbers out. See, these are good names that I need you guys to get me a list.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get. This is recruit week, just like in college.
Yeah. Okay, I'm down. Yeah, I'll definitely take a look back tomorrow and start working on tomorrow and try to recruit more people.
All right.
No, Austin said he might have two of his mechanical buddies that bowl with him on Fridays on his team Friday. Wanting to join. The only thing he's wary about is the high averages because these guys have like 130s, 140.
Oh, but we got Jake and Phil. We got Gary. We got.
Yeah, don't
Phil,
tell him it's.
you can't count Phil. I mean, to be honest, Phil, you cannot add Phil to that. Phil has been averaging, I'm proud to say, a solid 198 average.
No way. Your protege?
Yes.
Your protege?
I am shocked. He's been doing tournaments now where he's actually taking top 20. And I am like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Wow. Like in the tournament, he averaged in a tournament at Plano, he averaged 198.
Phil was a gutter fluffer at one point.
Yeah. But now he is like, he's a different man, dude. Like it's weird. It's weird.
Dang. That's that Marine blood in him.
Like he's throwing the ball better than ever. He said he might shoot 300 this season.
Holy shit. If he shoots one before you in league, that'll be the biggest Woodmansey podcast curse of all.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Well, yes. So, all right, it's recruit week. So we got to get these names together, and we're going to try to get this thing up to 16 teams, hopefully.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
That'd be awesome. All right, guys. Thank you so much for enjoying the fall season for W Trios. Congrats to good friend gentlemen for taking the win for both halves, man. You killed it. You beat my team, which is the president's team. You beat the secretary team, which was not even a team at all. So congratulations to y'all again. Thank you, viewers and listeners, for listening to our podcast for the fall season. Please come back to the summer season. It's going to be twice as better. My team is reevaluated, recreated with new people, with a great person that is soon to be known next Tuesday. So please come back to hear how amazing he did, which he will, how my team will end up winning the summer. If you do not come back, you'll be like these teams, losing the whole league at the very end.
I was hoping you're going to say that. Or you could be like the Titanic, also losing to the same team.
Yeah.
All right, guys. This was a fun season, so we'll talk with you guys next week.
Yes.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Take it easy. Have a good night, guys.
You too.